dede malimpora kwa tamaa ya maisha bora. Akijiuliza
the first time I heard about mpenzi wa kwanza, I almost fell for you. But then I noticed you were hurting. Are children hurting in these homes?
Definitely children are hurting. It's just that they don't talk about it because we live in a society that discourages children from speaking in the midst of adults. Yeah, so we have very many hurting children.
Forgive me if I sound off, but a lot of children that are hurting, they are coming from broken homes and parents that decide they don't want to take care of their creations and all that.
Yeah.
How do you then intend to inculcate parents with these projects that you're coming up with?
Obviously, we have to have consent from the parents. Obviously.
You are watching TheArtsinHeart, your home of authentic conversations.
Welcome to Elimishwe kwa maswala ya jamii. Tutumbuizwe sana mbalimbali, tujuzwe juu ya matukio ya kila pembe, wapa burudani kwa familia nzima. TheArtsinHeart.
Good evening, my name is Likuyani Eli. It's Friday where I am. I don't know what date it is where you are. However, this is The Perspective, the Friday edition, and I am more than ready to have you in the conversation. We are discussing the fear of a modern day parent, the dilemma that surrounds it. But before I get way ahead of myself, let me welcome one and only Godwin Segero for the second time this week or this month. We are doing this. How are you, Godwin?
I'm fine, Eli. How are you doing on your end?
I'm great. You are all in red. Are you on Valentine's? It's too late.
Early Valentine's. After Easter, we now focus on Valentine's.
Okay. Valentine is way done, but anyway, probably things are better at your end. And that's why you are joining us from Nairobi, Kenya. Thank you so much, everyone that is there and watching the conversation. Shortly, I'll also be inviting Mr. Mwigai, you guy, all the way in Nairobi, Kenya, to have this conversation with us. So if you're joining us, let us know where you're watching us from. And to the subject matter, we are asking, what is the fear of a modern day parent? Mind you guys, there is a study that was done in 2016 by NACADA, which indicated that about 17% of young school-going boys actually get to engage in drug use and abuse by the time they hit adolescence, and that converts to about 5% or so when it comes to young girls, same age. Further on, it goes in 2018 by the United Nations organization that deals with drug and drug abuse, and they equally relate the same stories, and the most affected bracket of age is the teenage. So is it that parents are ill-prepared, or are parents having a difficult time raising their children? Before we can answer that question, I have Austin with me. Good evening, Austin. How are you, sir?
Yeah, good evening. How are you doing?
I'm awesome. You guy, my guy.
You guy, my guy. Hey, Godwin, naona umevaa red. Kwani kuna kitu siambiwi?
I'm just loving myself.
So, guys, I missed you, man.
We equally missed you. We almost thought probably umeuza mashamba mpaka ukajiuza.
Bado. Like, ni God. Sijui kama mnaona venye nimekuwa handsome of late. Sijui kama
we cannot comment on that. We will let for the ladies to actually help you answer that question. I see Lamont there saying from 254, I think from 64, that should be in Eldoret, Uasin Gishu. Karibu sana, gentlemen. Let's answer these conversations, and we are asking, the modern day parent has a lot of dilemma, which is raising their children. And for some of the report that I was reading before you came on, Austin, we were being told that parents, especially when children get into adolescent, they have a lot of problem raising these children. And about 11 or so percent of young boys get to engage in drug and alcohol abuse from the age of teenage. What is your take on that? Is it the parents' problem? Is it the children's problem? Austin.
I think it's both sides, because one, I think parents these days, they are so busy to take care of their children. Unapata like mzazi ana dedicate inachoma. Unapata mzazi ana dedicate like time yake fully kwa job, anasawa kona mtoi. Unapata mzazi hata ajui mtoi wake ako class nini, ajui ako grade gani, ajui kitu anashughulika tu ni school fees, ajue nafaa kulipa this amount, na ni hivyo peke yake. And then on the other side ya teenagers, I think wako too curious kujua venye yani life inafaa ikue. Wanaona ni kama mazee, life ni tunafaa kutumia hizi vitu, hizi nizo vitu zinaeka, alafu wana watch wase wabaya kwa internet. They are always on the phone. Unapata siku hizi mtu yako below 18 years mazee amejoin pale TikTok, ukiangalia vitu ana post, sijui utakunywa jina ama whisky, already ashaanza kuimba hata vitu kama hizo. So mtoi kama huyo utamwambia aje asitumie hiyo kitu yenye anaimba? So unaona ataenda kidogo ajifiche, because now even the parent is not there, na mzazi ataitishwa hapo 500 school trip, and hapo kwa Wines and Spirits, na mse wa Wines and Spirits one anataka ku make do, ako kwa business. Ukikosa kubaye, ukimwambia asiuze, utafit familia yake. So yeye anachukua hiyo do, anapatia mtoto wa wenyewe mwenye ako below 18 years, anampatia gin ama hiyo whiskey.
And it's been written not to be sold for persons under the age of 18.
Godwin. It is clarified. It is written. But they do not, unajua reasoning yao wanasema ni nini? Nisipochukua hiyo pesa nitapata hiyo do wapi? Na wewe hautanipea. Na wewe unasema ati watu wasikunywe. So unaona like ni kitu naweza sema we sitaki ku blame one party. Naweza sema tuna fail si wote, cause man, but a big part wase wana fail sana ni wazazi. They are not taking time to bring up their children. Unapata hata wazazi wengine wanaachia mamboch ku raise watoi. Unapata mzazi ajui anything, ajui venye hata ajui vitu zenye hata mtoto wake anapenda. Mboch ni anajua, hadi mboch anaulizangwa atakunywa soda gani, na sasa hiyo ameenda out, atakunywa soda gani, anapenda nini, Mboch ni anasema vitu kama Mboch hadi anajua masaa ya mtoto kulala, anajua hadi program mto hii anapenda, but mzazi hajui. So as parents I think we should wake up. Nimesema kama mimi ni mzazi. As parents should wake up.
It's good that you're saying that actually the parents have a role to play. Godwin, what do you think about this whole conversation and dilemma we are facing in the new generation of modern day parenting?
Early from the onset, let me say, if there's any difficult time to raise a kid, then it's now. And from the look of things, it's going to be even worse as we progress, because there's evolution in almost every sphere of our life right now, you know, and everything comes with new challenges. And like the olden days when we were growing up, when a child was a child of the society, you know.
Yeah.
Nowadays, parents are owning their kids, like, you know, this is my child. So the society has no business in how my child is supposed to be raised. And remember, the people who are raising children right now, they're the people who grew up now trying to kind of like bring the, you see, like in Kenya, you said second liberation, but now like there's that revolution, like to bring in a modern day parenting, no, the .com generation. So even the current parents are the ones who are trying to run away from the old days of parenting. So they're trying to be modern, and what that has is the ripple effect is now the kids they're raising are trying to be even more modern than them themselves. You understand? And that's why you find you have a parent who is raising a kid all by themselves. So these kids, first of all, they don't know how to interact with the rest. So the slightest chance they get, and you see, like now, if I have a child, the way I'm raising my child is not the same way Austin is raising the child, and then the same way Ellie is raising. So when these kids meet at school, it's a cocktail of different culture, or let me say behavior. So this one doesn't know which one is right because this one was told this one is good. And you see the kind of parents we're having right now. Let's say I'm that kind of Christian parent who believes in Christian values, and then Austin on the other side, yani ule msa kupati and all that. So whatever things wanaona when he comes back at home is what they emulate. So now when they meet together, there's that conflict. Whose beliefs are the correct ones?
Mm-hmm.
You understand? So there's that conflict, and at the end of the day, if my kid who's been raised up from a religious background meets Austin's child who's been raised up maybe from a different background, they meet. If my child is somehow weak, they believe whatever Austin's child was told at home is the right thing. So when they bring that, you try to correct, they feel you're trying to deny them something. You get another thing. We're living in a society where now children know their rights. Whereby it's a child's right. There's these organizations coming in to protect children. So we are over pampering the children. So they don't know what is right and what is wrong, and where do we draw the line between my rights and privileges.
Okay. Godwin, let me just dive more into this conversation because I see a lot of people actually already sending in their comments. I'll be taking comments as we proceed with the conversation, so kindly bear with me. There are people who now decide they want to share their comments via my telephone, but that's not how it works here. We have Matas who says, when priorities shift, so do responsibilities. I still believe spare the rod, spoil the child. The African way, he will put it. Noreen says, I think nowadays some parents think it's only teachers' responsibility to guide and instill manners in their children. When a child goes astray, they'll always blame the school and teachers. And actually, I want us to refer to something there after this comment as we proceed with the conversation. Heart in heart, hello. Why would a child need a child before 12 years old? Okay. Did I get that right? Mtoto anataka mtoto. Okay, fine. We'll be discussing that as we proceed. And we have Noreen, very true. Why should parents also start giving children pocket money and then they are in a day school? Parents should be the first one to guide their children. Okay, we will also be diving more into that. Confusion between rights and privileges is true, Brother Austin, and I believe that was being shared again by one Godwin Segero. And tonight, we opted to, after some boardroom discussions, we decided that we were going to have a men's only panel. And why? Because men are supposed to provide the leadership in these families that we have. But as men, where is our part? When we call for school meetings, how often did your father turn out to attend that meeting? We saw so many mothers accompanying their children for those meetings. We see mothers are the ones that are constantly signing the diary books. We see mothers are always trying to follow with the school studies of these young ones. I remember a case where I met this gentleman and they were with the wife, and during the conversation they were discussing about the so-called CBS. Is it CBC? CBC.
CBC.
The education system. And this man or this gentleman had the audacity to say he doesn't care about these things because it's none of this business. The mother is there. Will he be looking for school fees, or should he be actually trying and help this child study? And this, gentlemen, is a conversation we need to have as men. But before we can actually continue further and invite one more gentleman in the conversation, who is Coach Collins, I want us to take some minutes and listen something from Fadhili Tulia about child or children.
It's a very special song, this song, Manangu. It's a song I wrote to collaborate actually in this song with a wonderful artist. Her name is Aching Otieno. And in this song, I realized that, parenting has been done differently over the years, and I feel across the globe, people do parenting differently. But I feel like the one thing that should stand out is the subject of love. Mm-hmm. The only thing that kids need is love, and how they interpret love is time. And as parents, the more I look at my children growing up, I see that. Mm-hmm. I wish I could have more time with them. And I wrote this song for them. And I said to them, look, keep ikitokea hapo, whatever happens, mimi hapa nitakuwepo, I'll be here. Because I feel like so many times parents see their children go astray, and you warn them harshly, and you tell them, look, if you do that, do not come into my house again. If you do that, I disown you. But I feel that is not right.
Ted, my apologies, gentlemen, if you can hear me now. Apologies for that. I believe you've listened into that conversation, and this is my time to invite Coach Collins Bolo to this sitting. Good evening, Coach, and how are you tonight?
Good evening. I'm fine and well. Unfortunately, today my data system a lot of issues. Actually, Safaricom has wanted me some 10 GBs if maybe I'll make it because of Safaricom problem around. So that's the mystery.
You just marketed for those guys, but it's okay. We will be asking for some fees that you received as a result. But then again, Coach, welcome to the conversation. We are talking about the fear of a modern day parent. And as we said earlier on, we have opted that tonight we are having a gentleman-only conversation because men, we are supposed to provide that leadership. But as this gentleman earlier on who was speaking, that is Fadhili Tulia, a very great musician, he speaks about time, spending time with children. Are we men actually creating and purposely intending to spend time with our children, not only to nurture them, but also to guide them accordingly? Coach Collins.
Thank you, Eli. One of the most natural gifts which equal to all human beings is time. Either rich or poor, working or not working. It's a common gift for all human race. Unfortunately, as Fadhili has said, children interpret love in context of time. Not only children, even wives, but coincidentally. Now, most of the time, parents we have become absentee parents because we spend a lot of time looking for money. And most of the time, the intention for looking for money is very genuine because of our children. But unfortunately, in the process of looking money for our children, we miss time with them, even upon achieving these resources we are looking for. So what happens? When you get back home, your wife is angry because she's missing your presence, and also your children are not happy because they are missing presence. Very key and very important. So men ought to understand that time is key as far as children interpreting love is concerned, and as far as women interpreting love is concerned, both the women and the children. Very key and very important. That's why the greatest need for a woman of today from a man is presence. And presence is calculated with time. But most of the time, men, we are still using what we call caveman mentality, whereby during the days of the cavemen men used to go out to hunt for many hours. Then they bring back whatever they get from their place and they're regarded as heroes. So at that time, it was expected that the woman to spend more time with the children as the man moves out to go and venture for food. But the needs have changed with the time. Today, children and women need presence, which is calculated on time. If men cannot work on it, they lose it. Now, again, on the same note, children learn through observation, not through what you tell them. Now, when it comes to parenting, then it becomes paramount for men to understand what your children see records in their mind more than what you tell them. Now, what they see again is calculated on time interval. That's the frequency of calculation. So, meaning absence of a father or both parents at the expense of providing PlayStation, at the expense of providing money for outing, it will be equivalent to emotional disconnection as far as parenting is concerned.
Okay. That's quite deep. Time frequency is being the medium used here in addressing the issues you're having. But these same men need to provide for their families. And time is what they need for them to be able to create wealth. How do we strike a balance, men or gentlemen, for us to be able to actually be present? Because the time you are away, that's the time your son gets to know how to smoke from the neighbor. That's the time your son gets to know how to have sex at the age of 12. Austin. Austin, if you can hear me, I think Austin is quite struggling today.
I guess to strike your balance, it's very tricky because one, mwanaume amekuwa kwa society akuwe is the one to provide. Akikosa kuleta food, one, squeezy, we have seen how women have made men look like objects of nini, lazima wafanye kazi. If they do not work, wanaanza kurecord video akisema, oh, this guy only rest, it doesn't work, hakuna kitu anafanyanga, pressure mob. They cannot even think straight because they have a lot of things in their mind. Like hakuna kitu ingine. They don't have time now to think about parenting. The only thing they have in mind is
Austin, we are really struggling to get you. If you can fix that and come back to the conversation, it will be great. Kindly address that. Let's hear it from Godwin. Godwin, how do we strike a balance as men and actually be present not only by providing, but also being available? Because we are told all these evils the children are learning when we are not at home. Godwin.
Then, Eli, going back to where I started from, by telling you, we are living in a generation where parenting is a very daunting task. In the sense that we are living in a competitive society. Unlike the olden days where people are content as long as the family will provide their basic needs, as long as the family is comfortable. Now people are looking at what does the neighbor have? Why don't we have the same? And where does the pressure go? It lands on the shoulders of the man, you know. So this man that is supposed to go out to look for to provide for the family, to make them comfortable. You see, and nowadays we don't look at the basic needs that should make a family should get a family moving. People concentrate on the luxury, you know. Our neighbor has a 65-inch TV. Why do we have a 34-inch? So you have to make sure you keep up. Our neighbor has 2 vehicles in their parking lot. Why do we have one? Why do you have a small vehicle? Or car for that matter, you know. So now the pressure lands on the shoulders of the man. But what is the end result? The man is out there spending less time with the family, and then it's the same family. And I'm sorry to say this, but you know, like that's why you find it difficult to strike a balance, because now the wife will say, you know, you think all you need is money. Where are you? You're not there. And if you come now to be there physically or present to give that time, there's something else. It means now maybe your source of income is going to go lower. And then tomorrow, now the issue will not be about time. You're seated here while other men are looking for, providing for their family. So where do you strike the balance? You understand? And there's something that drew my attention this week.
Yeah.
There's a child that went on social media to complain about the parents denying him a vehicle for him to go to school. You understand? So you see, for the kid, this is a basic need, because other kids at school are coming with vehicles. So the he believes the parents have an extra car, so it's a right. It is his right to have that vehicle to go to school. You know, and that comes from the backdrop of we are having some sort of parenting I'll call helicopter parenting, where parents are hovering just around their kids to make sure that they have soft life, nothing bad happens to them. You understand? And that's why you'll find a parent taking a child to school. They expect the child to come back with good behavior, but without a teacher having to quarrel or to say anything to the kid. So everything the kid says is okay. But now when the kid fails, the blame goes back to the teacher. So teachers are expected to work miraculously, where they don't touch the child, they don't punish, they don't correct, but the child should be morally upright. So how do you expect someone who is out there to take good care of a child while you cannot replicate the same? You understand?
Wow.
So I feel that's where the problem is.
That's the problem, but men, we're still not owning up and taking care of our, the business that we've created. And you know, Coach Collins, as much as we want to deny it, we want to go around it and give sweet names to it. Single parents don't just happen. Single parents are created. And if you listened to the clip when we started off the conversation with, I had this earlier on with Nina Ruby, and we were talking about the fact that children coming from broken homes, and in this case, these are parents that have separated or divorced for that matter, most of the time, they tend to have a lot of challenges coping up in the society. And one of the coping mechanisms then they will take after would be drugs if they are not well taken care of. So in a society whereby nannies have been given the ultimate responsibility of taking care of these children in these single parenting units, Coach Collins, how do we bring sanity in such environments as men?
Now, one of the things which we need to do as men is to always remember being a single parent is not an accident. It's very intentional. Because the moment you decide to pour your sperm where on a person whom is not officially your wife, then behind your mind you need to know I'm potentially, if it's unprotected sex, I'm potentially putting myself in a scenario whereby I can become a parent. Now, the challenge is the moment parenthood starts from that single parental family system structure, it has been proved to be extremely challenging. One, because the male and the female, when they are having unprotected sex at that particular point, their focus is so much on the pleasure for that time than responsibility after that moment of pleasure. So both the men and the women must take responsibility. Am I ready to become a father? If not, and you have to have sex, then get to protected sex. But the moment you get to unprotected sex, be ready and responsible. Now, most of the time, what women don't understand is this. When you are entertaining your boyfriend for sex, and the agenda is pleasure, not having a child, what happens is that the moment you tell him that I am pregnant, he will disappear like anything else. Why? Because for men, when you talk about children, it's about responsibility, and responsibility has to be planned. So, but motherhood, some women feel like once he makes me pregnant, he'll take responsibility over my life and become my man. Now, that school of thought, old school of thought, is very detrimental. So, for men, when you talk about love, it's more about responsibility than just pleasure. For women, love is more emotional. Now, for us to avoid single parenting system, every man and every woman has to understand is a potential parent. What is required is just the meeting between the sperm and the ovum. Boom. And that's when the journey starts. No wonder 80% of men in prison in some of the other countries, statistics shows that they came from dysfunctional homes or single parented homes. Then the other unfortunate part is this: even if you have a well-trained nanny, a nanny can never become a parent. So what injustice are you doing to the children? They are growing up with human mammalic behavior but lacking parental growth, which makes them to grow up with a lot of gaps which they did not intend to have, but they have to have it because nannyhood is not equivalent to parenthood. Just like
Awesome.
parents who have been raised up by grandparents. Grandparents can never be the best parents, and they are never designed to be parents. So children raised up with grandparents, again, the same gaps sometimes you find coming up.
Okay, Coach Collins, some people who have been raised with grandparents will start having issues with what you're saying. But then again, situations and conditions could be differing. So we cannot ideally put it as black and white. No, there are parameters that we have to look at. But so don't miss the point, guys. We are not saying grandparents cannot take up the role when need be. But they are designed to be grandparents. In a society whereby the social media, the new influencer generation is the only way new parents are learning how to become parents, by gifting, by continually calling their children kababa, by, not punishing, but always rewarding them for bad behavior. The child comes and says, anko wewe ni mjinga, laughs it out, naambia kababa usifanye hivyo, huyu ni anko yako. Instead of being tough and saying, no, that is bad manners, and you've been reprimanded for that. Austin.
Yes.
Social media and the new electronic media, what role do you play in all this bad behavior, growth in children?
Well, actually, I'm seeing it happen these days, and it's crazy. Like, ingekuwa time yetu, like, mom asikie ukisema like, anko we ni mjinga, everything could stop. Everything iaishi hapo. Kama ni kuosha, mlikuwa mnaosha mikono, inasimamishiwa hapo. Kama ni kwanza unaombewa, kwanza unapigwa, alafu unaombewa, unamwagiliwa anointing oil. Because what happens these days is that naona watoi wamezoeshwa vibaya, and parents do not want to look bad. They think if they discipline their child ama their children, they'll hate them. Watasema mami unipiga, nani apigangwi. So even parents wakona ile uoga ya, what if my child grows up hating me, thinking that I'm a bad parent. So even parents, they have that pressure. Like these days, a child can take their phone, because they have phones these days. A child can take their phone and start recording a video saying, hey, today mom came and she started caning me because I was watching television the whole day, blah, blah, blah. And I think no parent wants that kind of that publicity. So wanna try we avoid by trying not to punish their child for such things. Na wanaona kama and sometimes what happens, like what coach was saying, single parents do not happen like accidentally, and when they happen, maybe some parents, they go for a step far, they remarry after that. So
blended families.
Yeah. So that thing usually confuses a child vibaya sana. Imagine you stop calling your dad, and now you're being told to call this other guy who has come into your life when you are like 10 years old. You're being told to call him dad. You're being told that this is the guy who will be living with us, and you hope you will respect him. And then when that guy tries to discipline you, you start throwing words at him, say, hata afadhali babangu, my father was better, this guy is not, blah, blah, blah. So you see, it's crazy these days.
It is crazy, as you say, Austin, and I want to agree with you. Godwin, something that Austin has mentioned just captured my mind and took me to another space of thinking. That yes, we have the new blended families, we have these families that we want to bring together and raise children for a common goal and a common good. But then you, as the new father, you find yourself in a space you cannot discipline this child. The word there is discipline and not punishment. I'm told punishment is for crooks. So you cannot discipline this child. So how then do you become a father to this child? Oh, Godwin, ama wewe utaachia mama yake hiyo kazi. And I believe Godwin has muted his mic, so I'm unable to do anything about it. Godwin, if you can hear me. Okay, this is one of those days. Coach Collins, please.
Yeah, I think with the issue of discipline, it's the role of the parents. So parents have a responsibility to discuss on their role towards nurturing children through the process of discipline. Because discipline helps and facilitates the success of the children, future, and their progress towards growth. And there's no institution which wants to a mature person who is indisciplined because he was not disciplined. So it starts with the parents discussing, now that you are a blended family, in case of maladaptive behavior from our children as they grow, which is the best methodology to use for discipline for our children. Two, if these children are at different age, which is the right type of discipline for a child who is 13 years, one who is 7 years, and a teenager who is 18 years. So there has to be a formula on how each every child will get disciplined based on his or her age. And it has to be made in a way that he understands the following privilege, or this kind of discipline is spanking, it is because of ABCD. Now, the other aspect which parents need to intentionally agree when it comes to discipline, especially when you're using the methodology of spanking. One great person once told us, actually one of our teachers, when you want to spank your child, don't use your hands. Make sure your children see your hands as a tool of love and acceptance, but use a cane that they may know cane is for disciplining a child when he messes up. Like we were young, to kiboko cha mtoto mkorofi, as we used to speak it in the past. So our hands are for loving. Stroke is for discipline. So that when you raise up your hands, your child does not dusk down because it feels like you're going to punch him the next minute. So that one means it has to be very intentional. We'll always use our hands to show love and acceptance to our children, but we will use a spank to demonstrate punishment. Then in punishing your child, once you have decided as parents, make sure you make sure you have a time with the child that I told you not to do ABCD, but it seems you have repeated or probably have not got it well. Make sure you communicate so the child can know actually I repeated a mistake or I made a choice intentionally knowing I should not make and I deserve to be punished. Now, such kind of punishment have a lot of positive impact on the child as far as growth, development is concerned and neuron cell development is concerned. It creates a very good positive energy. By the end of the day, the child will feel more loved. Again, as parents, the kids, when you spank them, they run away. There are those whom when you spank them, they run towards you. It's your role to discover from the children I have who runs away and who comes close. So that in the running away or coming close, you know the best way to help them grow through discipline, either by spanking or denying privileges.
Denying privileges, I'm told Mama Brayo cannot allow that because mtoto wangu lazima akule peanut butter na mkate. That will happen. Let's just read some comments here, please. We have discipline and communication are key in my opinion. Thank you so much, Jakita. We have Princess Ola who says, Mimi bado ni old school. Discipline comes first. Heshima lazima idumu. Again, earlier on we have team work means one help or assist the other when there is a difficulty. And that, again, is our opinion. Matasio earlier on had asked, or rather commented and said, if they agree, one looks for the money, the other does school administration, etc., attending school meetings, checking report cards, doesn't that sound like teamwork? And therefore, these are some of the things that men and women should be doing. But coach, let us
Yeah.
again just push this a little bit further. And again, I said I want to really discuss this as a male panelist because we're supposed to give guidance. If as a man, if as a father, the best example you give your child is drinking like a fish and smoking like a train, what audacity do you have to tell your child drinking and alcohol is bad for your health, Godwin?
Now, most
If
of the
Godwin
time
can
when
answer that, please.
okay,
I think, is Godwin still with us? Because it seems he is looking good, but frozen.
yeah, it looks frozen.
Clearly. You can just, you can watch us from a distance,
It's
Godwin.
the
Thank you.
irony of
Quite some delay, Godwin. Unfortunately, Godwin tonight is one of those days. Coach, let me allow first this young man that is here with us before you can come in. Austin,
Yes.
what role then do you play as a father in that house if you're drinking like fish and smoking like a train and you tell your son or your daughter, thou shall not smoke in my house?
I guess it's so hard because, as coach said, children learn by mostly observing. Like children, they emulate what they see, because what they see records in their subconscious, and they'll behave the same way they see people behaving. That's why you'll see them imitating their father, imitating their teachers, the way they talk, the way they walk, the way they learn a lot. So you cannot preach. Is it preach wine and drink water, or drink or preach
No, it's the
water and drink?
opposite. It's the opposite. I know you like wine, but let's start with water. You cannot preach water and drink wine.
Yeah, you cannot preach wine. You cannot preach water and drink wine. So I guess it would be so hard, even for an adult, to tell them you should not do this, and you are doing it. It's like whatever is happening in the government. They are telling us not to be corrupt, and yet themselves they are corrupt. So even it's hard to understand what they want us to do. So for children, if you want to tell your child not to do a certain thing, you should ensure you're not doing it yourself. If you're telling them not to smoke and you're smoking, for sure they'll pretend not to smoke, but once you're gone, they'll take that cigarette, they'll go to a drug dealer, they'll buy is it cannabis, they'll buy cannabis, they'll buy those things. If you tell them not to drink and you're coming home with bottles of whiskey, gin, whatever, and you're telling them not to drink, once you go, they'll take that bottle, they'll pour some little in a glass, watapiga shot, and you'll not be able to they'll pretend, because they are very good, and for a young person they are very good at pretending, because they somehow outsmart all older people. Sijui, I don't know how that happens na kuishi kwengi kuona mengi, but
They are smarter than their smartphones.
yeah. They are very smart, watakushinda hawa, wase huwezi wapata. Msi ata smoke, msi atavuta hiyo bangi, atakunywa hiyo pombe, hadi unashindwa. I came with this bottle of whiskey when it was full. Right now it is halfway.
It is tasting waterish.
And it sounds like
Anakunywa nusu, anajaza na maji. Literally anakunywa maji. Anakata maji. So Nani, Coach Collins, I don't know, I can still think Godwin is with us, but he seems not to be with us. Godwin, are you with us? If you can just acknowledge my greetings. We'll have to compare off. Wacha tumpe off. Wacha tumpatie off. Officially is on off. He's struggling. We cannot have that conversation. Coach Collins, the most difficult conversation to have with teenagers is matters to deal with sex and the transition between being a teenager into young adulthood. A lot of young parents say, with my child, I'll be open. When are you open? When are you teaching? And when are you out of line? Coach Collins, I know those are so many questions, but cheza kama wewe.
Okay, with teenagers, one of the things which parents need to understand is that teenagers, no matter how rowdy they are, it's always says non-verbally, I need help, I need guidance. And the best teacher is the parent. Now, parent can teach in two ways. One, directly, if he has a background, social background, whereby he can discuss sexual issues openly, or by involving third parties. Third party includes like bringing in an uncle, maybe activities like if you have activities in the church, seminars, camps, and such kind of things, whereby you invest on your child to go and attend those kind of forums. And as they attend those forums, the campus will be there, will now intentionally start addressing those issues openly. Now, that one helps in case you are shy to address it. At least you're going to have a group of people who can address the issue, third parties or relatives. Or another thing, if you are a parent and you are lucky to be having a car and you are driving, and they usually feel shy when you talk about the thing. When you are traveling a long journey, start the topic. They cannot run out of the car. They cannot jump. They have to stick there and learn. So that's another skill which a parent needs to grow and to develop, so that when having a journey like I'm here, Mombasa, Nairobi, and I have my teen kids around, and I start the topic, no matter how shy they are, they have to commit to, they have to participate. And once they realize,
I'm sorry to cut you, Coach. I'm sorry
Yes.
to cut you short, but it's okay to have those conversations. My question is the approach that we use as today's parents. You know, you'll be told, unajua, don't touch here. When somebody touches you here, it is your private space. Don't do this, don't do that. But a lot of parents live knowing their children as holy as Mother Mary. Some of them know they are like Jesus, they went to heaven, never touched a woman. Only to learn later in life, your child has been having sex since they were 6, 7, 8. I'm told in today's society, especially here in Europe, parents are agreeing to their 12, 13-year-olds having sleepover with sex with their boyfriends of the same age, Coach Collins, and of course, Austin. Is this being a nice parent, or is this being absolutely out of line?
I believe every parent has a responsibility to understand its environment, the sexual behavior of the society they are coming from, and associating with his or a child, both daughter and son. Now, that one means before you allow your child to go for a sleepover, what kind of parents stay in that place? What is the value system of that particular home? What's the behavior of this child who is closer to my? You have to make it intentional. If you don't do that, I remember sometimes back, my son told me, Dad, I like to go for a sleepover to one of my best friend in class. Then I asked him, how do they, what's the value system of that home? What are the value system of that of the parents of the child? How does it talk to you about the parents? Talk about those parents, they're ever fighting, they're ever drinking, blah, blah. The value systems of that home was in total contrast with how I'm bringing up my child. I told him, I'm sorry, I cannot allow that to happen because we don't share value systems. And most of the weird things start from such kind of environment. Young boys have been introduced to homosexuality. Some have been introduced to sexual relationship and such kind of things. And I explain it to the child intentionally and in a manner that he will feel I'm protecting him or her than just denying some time of fun for the child. So that one becomes, so it depends on you. What's your value system? Do you understand the environment? Do you understand the value system of the family of the friend your son or daughter wants to go to? Now, such kind of question needs a parent who is intentionally aware that parenting is a process, and as a father, your work is to protect the home. And protecting your family means you have to be so much aware about the kind of environment the people are associating with. On the other side, also, as you were behaving as a teenager, you need to understand also your kids have your same DNA. They might behave the same, even worse than the way to be as a teenager. Now, that will help you from seeing your child as an angel from above, but a potential crook like you were when you were young. Then now your role is, how can I help my son not to be as crook as I was and he becomes a better person. Like see, like my boy, because I know the way I used to behave as a teenager. When I start seeing some maneuvers, then I remember how I used to be. I told him,
No, it's like you start asking, is there a girl in this compound?
yes,
You start looking left, right, and center.
yes, yes. So before he's there, I'm just right there with him. Hey, boy, I was just that way.
Oh,
Then it's like,
yeah.
Dad, how do you know? Because it shares my DNA, and I can be able to get some of the probable behaviors under certain circumstances. So my role is to empower my son so that even in his teenagehood, he can make the right and the best decisions.
Thank you so much, Coach, on that. It's very, very deep. And Austin, let me ask you a question. I know you don't have to be as blunt as you want, but you need to be very open-minded and try help these young people or young parents trying to be fathers and young mothers trying to be mothers.
Yeah.
One thing that a lot of parents do not know or never discover is when their child started getting sexually active. Austin, who is the person that introduced you to matter sexual relationship? And at what age did you know man and woman can have some strange emotions and chemicals and finally heavy breathing?
Actually, it was very hard because I was brought up by my mom. So it was very hard for her to like, you know, talk about it because she felt like I'm not the right person to talk about this. So she was struggling right now. And I look back, I see the way she was trying to bring in the conversation. She was trying to ask me if I have a girlfriend, and I could see where the conversation was going. But she was so because of the traditions, women are not supposed to talk about sex to their sons, especially firstborns, because I'm the firstborn. So my uncle was the one who was being sent to come and talk to me matters relating to sex. My uncle now comes and tries to talk to me, telling me that that's right. The way Coach Collins has said, when you're driving for a long distance, you cannot run away. So he's driving there, then he starts the topic. Austin, do you know you can become a father? Hey, how? Hey, he tells me, when you have a relationship with a girl, those conversations usually they were coming in, but also my uncle was somehow shy because they feel like I would judge them. They feel like what if this child is not thinking the way the way I'm thinking? Maybe they don't know the right age to start to talk about these things because it's tricky. Some of these children, they learn about these things very early, even before the parents realize, because some watch even pornography. Sorry to say, they can be able to access some sites that they are not supposed to. They access those sites and they want now to try whatever they saw on those sites. So you find like an 8-year-old child, he has already started watching porn, and the mother, the father is now the uncle. They don't know, and they are wondering how are we gonna start this conversation. And by the time they are starting this conversation, the child is 13 years old, and Kenya wanamwambia saa hii alishafanya, so right now it's beyond repair. So but
Beyond repair, and I like that you say that, Austin. Again, because with the interest of time, I like just to have another opinion from Coach Collins, of course, who is a relationship coach and a great one for that matter. Coach, you hear what Austin says. By the time this parent is teaching about sex or trying to converse about sex, their child is miles and miles away. They learned it from pornography, they learned it from the neighbor, they learned it from the house help. Today's parents that are working to secure the bag, what options do they have to protect their children from sexual predators, from sexual exploitation, and possibly drug use and abuse? Drug and alcohol abuse, rather, Coach.
Okay. Now, one of the best way as a parent is to create awareness. Now, there are different ways of creating awareness. One, if you are that shy kind of a parent, talk about the subject as something happening outside. Are you aware that there are young boys and girls nowadays on drugs using questioning skills? Then the kids will be like, yeah, we are aware. How do you know? How do they behave? Then they'll start now giving feedbacks about the observation in the community as far as that subject matter is concerned. Then you still questioning, say, then what do you think about it? Has any one of them ever attempted to come close to you? You start from very far, then you bring the subject into the core discussion of the family members. Then you start seeing how they're behaving. They must start being shying off because probably already they're in, or they must start shying off because somebody tried and they refused it. So create an environment where they can discuss. Now, awareness should come from you as a parent, not from third parties. I had a patient who came for therapy in my room, and he's just 21 years, and this boy was suffering from a condition called sperm diarrhea, whereby even without erection, sperms are just spilling out. And as I was having conversation with him, it happened that he started to masturbate at an early age because of pornography. So now in the early 20s, he's having a sperm diarrhea. If this young man will die by the age of 12 or 26 or 30, what probabilities does he have to make his wife conceive? Probably he'll be sterile. Now, the role of the parents is to intentionally create an atmosphere, first create awareness. Then if you are too shy about it, get a third party so that a discussion can take place. If not third party, involve your child to join positive groupings where intentionally those subject matters are being addressed. For example, like vocational camps, these things have been addressed. If there's a youth conference somewhere, teens conference somewhere, let them go and liars with people who are expert in those lines so that they can talk about it. It is true, some of our culture, when it comes to sexual issues, people are shy. Even a husband and a wife cannot discuss even about their nakedness. What about it to their end? So if we accept different mediums to come around, it can facilitate and help our children by the end of the day. It has to be intentional because you understand the group at which, or the age group, or the development stage where our child are. But the parents has to be available to be aware because some kids are young, are short in height, but emotionally, they're not that short. They know a lot.
They know a lot, and therefore we shouldn't assume. You know, in this wake of modern times or modern day parenting, raising children in an already polluted society with different demands is difficult. But there's one thing that I live by, and I would throw it as a question to the two of you. Coach Collins, without necessarily giving a specific one, have you ever resigned or been fired from a job? It's a yes or a no answer. Resigned or got fired? Resigned or got fired? Yes or a no?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
How about you, Austin?
Yeah, I have.
You have. Yeah. You see, this is the interesting part about life, is that there are things we have choices that we can always take a back step on. But when it comes to parenting, it is the only job, once you sign up for, you will never resign from it. During your daytime, your nighttime, as you breathe, and even after you are gone 6 feet under. You'll always be referred to as marehemu baba ya nani. To date, most of you know your grandfathers because walikuwa nasema babu yenyu aliyeaga. You will always have a connection because you have become or chose to be a parent. So as we do that, the conversations we should be having tonight is, I am a father, I am a mother. Am I a parent that will live and plant good behavior of a child that once I'm gone, I will be proud to be connected to. Because your child that you are babying around will become a problem in the society that is waiting ahead. Closing remarks, gentlemen. Let's have it first from Austin Mwigai.
I would like to tell every parent out there, please make sure you have some time to think about your family, especially your children. Talk to them about these issues. They are real. Because if you do not, they'll grow up to be messed up people. Let's try to make the world a better place. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Austin. Coach Collins?
Yes, for all the parents, it's extremely important for you to understand that parenting is very intentional, and your children's behavior is a total reflection of either what you have put in them or refused to impact in them, and the society is doing the same. So when we succeed, it's because we were involved. When we fail, it's because we participated in their failure. It's all about our choice. It has to be intentional, and the behavior of our children is the fruit of what you have impacted in their lives. Back to you, Eli.
Thank you so much, everybody that came to the conversation. We are glad that you made it tonight, and especially if you're watching us on our YouTube channel, that is The ArtsinHeart Official. And if you haven't, kindly, you are doing us a disservice. We are on our way to the greater heights. You can join us by simply pressing on that subscribe button and turn on the notification such that every time we go live, you get to be notified. That is The ArtsinHeart Official on YouTube, The ArtsinHeart on Facebook, and of course on Instagram at @TheArts_in_Heart. Coach Collins, you can reach him on Collins Bolo, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. And we have Austin Mwigai, Austin Mwigai on YouTube. Subscribe, guys. Let's make this family a big one. And for those of you in the comment section, you've helped us have a great conversation. We can't live without saying asanteni sana. Nice topic that is from Manjekita. Great show, The Perspective. We have Princess Ola who says, thank you, The Perspective. Wise words, gentlemen. We can't wait to have you this coming Sunday. Kwa sababu, meanwhile, before I forget and go so ahead of myself, Coach Collins is resuming next week with Family Edition every single Saturday. So get to watch, because I can promise we have so much lined up for you. How about on Sunday? Sunday, things are happening. And when they happen, we get to tell you. Here we tell stories of Against All Odds. And here's a sneak of what you should be expecting.
I access his photos, access his Play Store activity. So when I meet the brothers the following day, they are surprised I'm now talking about what they think they know. Now, she accused me of giving her HIV/AIDS.
That is on Sunday. Coach Collins, I know you can't wait to watch this. Until next week, see you. My name is Likuyani Eli, and on behalf of everybody that made this program a possibility, we thank you once again. See you on Tuesday, The Perspective Tuesday edition. Good night, and God bless you. Good night.
Umenisafisha, ukanizingira dhidi ya dhoruba, nafsi na kuamrisha, inuka umpe sifa, uhimidiwe, uhimidiwe, uhimidiwe. Uhimidiwe, uhimidiwe, uhimidiwe. yatuponya magonjwa, yatuvika wema nazo huruma, na ninawakaribisha, inukeni tumpe sifa. Uhimidiwe, 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 Yesu we uhimidiwe, uhimidiwe, oh uhimidiwe, 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 oh uhimidiwe, 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 uhimidiwe. Nafsi yangu na kuamrisha sasa, usisahau alokutendea, alikukinga, amekuokoa.